here's your hosts of Truth Matters, Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie, seeking truth and promoting liberty.
Good day and welcome America and beyond. I'm Tom Donahue with my co-host Angeline Marie. Truth matters, and it really does matter here. And I'm continuing on with this report I'm filing on Epstein, Trump files, and much more. So let's get started. I'm just astonished. These cast of characters that are betraying the trust of the American public, not doing the right thing. And it's funny, Bondi during the hearing, she goes, well, we're taking out, the worst, she said, the worst offenders. We're going after the violent criminals, the pedophiles, the sex traffic rings. I'm like, you are? I mean, you've got millions and millions of files, and you got all these names of rich and powerful people and you got survivors that are giving their accounts, not one prosecution from your office. And what about the client list that was on your desk that you don't want to address? I mean, you volunteered that. I mean, we got a huge credibility gap with these people. It's just unbelievable to me. And so, and you say, well, what are you ranting about this? Or like Trump was saying, it's all a hoax. Well, if I was mentioned a million times in the Epstein file, if I was even mentioned one time, I'd be like, what? Yeah, it's a big hoax, Donald. And you're the hoax master. I can't believe it. 1,000,000+ times his name is mentioned. And I just want to go over the news headlines of TalkStream Live that I posted, because this might give you a little bit more info or insight. It says Bondi faces MAGA media backlash after bombastic congressional hearing on Epstein. Massey, Representative Massey, GOP, Republican, a really good congressman. Trump hates him because he pushes on the Epstein files, and you can't do anything that Trump disagrees with, or you're the enemy of the White House. He posts a grim tweet saying he's not suicidal amid the Trump Epstein files fracas. Top DOJ official demands lawmaker retract the Trump Epstein inquiry because there's an email in 2016 that's a political figure talking about how many more votes he got than Jeb Bush during the primaries with Epstein. And I mentioned in a prior podcast and show that Epstein says that he was invited to Mar-a-Lago in 2017 for Thanksgiving dinner. There's no question now that Trump has had contact, and the brother of Epstein said that when Donald Trump won the first time at the presidency, he called and he said, I was in the room when he called Jeffrey and talked about him becoming president of the United States. There's just too many things happening here where Trump, and then Trump said he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago and he stopped communicating with him, sort of like Ludnick, the Commerce Secretary, where, he was caught in his lies that he not only kept in contact with his neighbor, Epstein, but he took his family to the island for lunch. Yeah, the Epstein Island. And remember, the log shows that Trump visited that island 8 times. And I'm saying I'm not as concerned about the island as I am the amount of time he spent in both mansions in Florida and New York, and his super close ties with Epstein on a daily basis. That's even more concerning to me, regardless of whether he took those 8 logged flights to the island. Representative Mace joins Democrats to denounce the creepy DOJ monitoring of Congress members to see what they're doing in terms of their searches as it relates to the Epstein files. It was performance art from Bondi to impress only one person, and that was Donald Trump. Because Trump, if you're name calling what he believes to be the enemy, anyone that is trying to get to the truth in the Epstein matters, and no, Mr. Hoaxster, it's not a hoax. You wish it was a hoax. You wish this could go away. It's not going to go away. It will taint and tarnish your legacy forever. You got it? Now, Representative Ro Khanna reveals the redacted names of these high up, wealthy, rich folks that the Justice Department was blacking out so that we wouldn't know who these men were that abused these women. And so So both Massey, Rouhani, a few others are really pushing hard on this to do the right thing. Now, in the last show, I talked at length about Bannon and the many of the MAGA media. And again, Bannon won't explain himself. He won't even defend himself. He acts like this is, he never interviewed Epstein and that he wasn't consulting with him later on during the second criminal investigation, where he was saying that we have to change the narrative. How do you change a narrative when you're a sex trafficker and a pedophile, a sexual abuser, many minors? Not happening. So when this came out that Bannon not only conducted that interview, which he was his media coach and media mentor, but he was then consulting during his time in the Trump White House. Okay. It's kind of crazy stuff. But many conservatives erupt over Steve Bannon and his close ties to Epstein. And so this relationship revelations as backfiring on Bannon, who is a grifter, and someone that is a really untrustworthy piece of human sewage. But, yes, does he do some good things on the show? Does Trump do some good things? Just because you do some good things or you're right on some things doesn't mean that you get a pass. OK, so Maxwell, she pled the fifth. She's not going to give out any information. She said, I could tell you everything if Trump will give her clemency. And then they were trying to press on the issue of how did she get to a cushy, cozy camp that nobody with violence or sexual crimes ever has gone to a camp, which is, a less secure, more wide open, free to roam, if you will. There's no accountability in terms of how this happened. Now, there is some talk. I've seen some pictures, and I don't even know if I want to go down that rabbit hole. But some are saying that because of the date stamp on the death certificate, or when Epstein was discovered and moved, there's official government document. And I've seen it. It's in the Epstein files where it's dated a day before, and then there was a news announcement the day before that he allegedly committed suicide or was strangled, murdered. There's just more questions than answers. How did he die? When did he die? What was the cause of death, truly? And the fact of the matter is that some think that maybe he cut a deal and they secretly got him out of there. And because he did have ties to the Israeli Mossad, and he had also the KGB and also our intel agencies, that maybe he's living in Israel. Again, I don't have enough details on that, but there is some speculation in that regard. Well, Epstein was even involved, and we talked about the Trilateral Commission, the Rockefeller Board, David Rockefeller, and now we find out that he was involved with the Rothschild family in Europe. This guy, he dug his claws in everywhere. He had so many billionaire, super rich, super influential families that he was consulting with, involved with. It's unbelievable. Just wait till the movie comes out. How about this Todd Blanche? He talks like this, what a wussy voice, he has the look, like he could be, like a lawyer on television. But as soon as you hear him open his mouth, it's like, who is this wussy guy? And he doesn't give any true answers. And he makes no sense. I'm surprised. I guess Trump likes that look, but he doesn't mind the voice and what the utterance is. Yeah, if I couldn't have a wussy guy like that representing me. He's doing a terrible job and certainly a yes man. He wasn't even successful in Trump's defense as his private attorney. And of course, that's how he's operating now, in his deputy position there under Bondi. And we haven't even gotten to Kristi Noem and Lewandowski and, all the furor that's going on there and the exposés. But this is becoming one of the most corrupt regimes in the history of the United States government. We've talked about various elements and aspects, but it is corrupt to the core, and it's way, way worse in the first term. And now Trump's polling data, in terms of popularity, in terms of being considered a successful presidency, is well below Biden. Even the Rasmussen poll that favors and is more conservative said that if Biden and Trump were running for office today, Biden would win. That's the sorry state of affairs for Trump and for the United States of America. It really saddens me to have to report this. I'm Tom Donahue for Tom Donahue Reports and Truth Matters. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Be sure to listen to Truth Matters with Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie right here, shedding light and insight on the cover-ups and conspiracies, seeking truth and preserving liberty. That's Truth Matters.
I'm an American veteran. I'm proud to have served this country. Helping veterans is something all Americans can participate in, and it's as simple as donating an old car that you have sitting around. When you call the Veteran Car Donation Program, they'll explain how their program works, and then arrange a time they can come and pick up your vehicle for free. Running or not, it doesn't matter. They take cars, trucks, motorcycles, or vans. Show your support by donating your car and get a tax deduction in the process. Call the Veteran Card Donation Program right now. They'll come and pick your car up for free, and you'll get a tax deduction in the process. Call the number we're about to give you right now. Thank you, and God bless America.
Call 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. Call right now. 800-925-1596.
I have a friend, about 50, had a bad accident and couldn't go back to work. If you're between the ages of 49 and 63 and can't go back to your job because of a physical or mental disability, Social Security could pay you as much as $3,800 a month. If you or a family member is unable to work because of a disability, call the Social Security Disability Helpline. Our team will give you a free case review and explain to you how much money you're entitled to, and you won't pay anything unless we get you benefits. See if you or a family member is entitled to close to $45,000 a year in Social Security disability funds. Remember, this is not something for people over the age of 65. If you're under 65 and can't work, call now.
800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. That's 800-942-1395.
Welcome back. Tom Donahue with Angeline Marie. Truth Matters. It really does matter here. And we're going to talk about, to some extent, the last segment, which was a part two of my report and several reports I've done on the Epstein files. Now I call it the Trump Epstein files or the Epstein Trump files. And Angeline, I don't know if you have any particular comments you want to offer as it relates to this ongoing saga, this cover-up conspiracy and massive scandal that does ensnare Trump to some degree.
All I can say is it just keeps on. The saga keeps going on, and we won't run out of things to talk about in the near future, that's for sure. You brought up something today about him talking about curtains for the extension that they're doing on the White House, the ballroom, that's what it was. And you were telling me
there's a synergy between us here because I knew that we were going to get to this, even though I know that the last segment didn't cover that, which is fine, which is a more natural, organic way that we do this. But yes, okay, so we'll go to the golden curtains. Trump is supposed to be talking about the war, and he's holding, I guess, a quasi press conference, and he starts pointing to these gold curtains and how beautiful they are, and gold's his favorite color, and he's built many ballrooms before, but this will be the most beautiful ballroom in the whole world. And the whole world's blowing up. He took us into a full-blown war, not something strategic, not anything that had to do with national security. I'm sorry, Rubio and fellow NeoCons, but our national security is now more at stake because of the sleeper cells that are here, and we don't know how to protect ourselves properly, most Americans. And then Americans that are overseas are in danger, and Americans everywhere worldwide. So you've now endangered, rather than securing, the American homeland and each and every American, and shame on you.
Well, I know the right is still covering this, that the Iranian people are very happy about what happened. And now they're even talking about Cuba and how the Cubans are marching in Miami and wanting him to do the same thing with Cuba.
You know, this whole war thing I haven't followed as closely, but I can say this in bigger picture is the fact that you have there's a school that was blown to pieces with children that were murdered, and they were executed by the United States government or the Israeli government. So they won't be able to march in any street, and they won't be able to enjoy any freedom, although I hope that Creator God has them in heaven now, these little angels. But the problem is that they say collateral damage, and Trump and Hedseg, the drunk, they are talking about that. Well, there's going to be casualties in war, and I see certain GOP senators saying, "Well, there's always casualties in war," and then one guy named Mullen is saying, "Well, the smell of war," and he never experienced war, he never served in a combat zone, and that's the other thing is, why isn't Bannon on the front lines? I know he's a giant, and maybe this giant could scare people. Like a big lurch from the Addams family. But why aren't all these senators and president and vice president making sure that they have some loved one, some family members serving? And I said this about Bush and Clinton and Obama, that there's always should pledge a loved one so we know that this war is actually worthy.
Well, I interviewed Annie Cyrus, and she's Iranian, and she is now in this country. This was back in 2017, Tom, that I interviewed her. If anybody wants to listen to that interview, I remember saying to her at the time, this is probably one of the most important interviews I'll ever do. You could see it at TruthSeekersRadioshow.com. And she was a little girl in 79 when that regime took over, and needless to say, she was talking about the slavery that she lived under, and that is why she found herself later in the U.S. So I really was thinking about her recently, and I really need to see if I can track her down and get her to do another follow-up interview with me and get her take on this.
Well, there are many, many countries that are living under, oppressive regimes. And some people worldwide are thinking that we're under an oppressive regime with Trump, how unhinged he is and how deranged he's become. And if anyone thinks that this is America first, that's insanity. I mean, that's his 1984 Orwellian doublespeak, because when I'm looking at one of the headlines that I did post at TalkStream Live, and Trump is attacking Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Margie Taylor Greene, for them speaking out and saying that this is not what they signed up for. This is not what they voted for. This is not what they supported. And so Trump is saying that he defines that what America First is, and MAGA, and he is MAGA, period. Well, that is just complete bunk. I mean, Reagan came up with the term, and we've been part of a movement for more than 30 plus years that deal with freedom and liberty and putting America first. My radio program is going back as far as 1990 was an America First themed show. And I even coined that term and used that as part of our organization for America's Town Forum. So this psychotic, deranged grifter of a president is not in any way, shape, or form America First. He lied to us. He betrayed us. We were sold a bill of goods.
Well, I think this has been the plan all along. And I don't know if you remember back when Obama and they were going into all those countries. And this is what they're doing. This has been a long-term plan. And I think this was just another country on the docket to get this done. I don't agree. I mean, I feel bad that people are in those kinds of situations under those hard regimes like that. But on the other hand, we cannot be the world police, and we can't just be marching into all these countries
I mean, let's put it this way. Let's say there were militia groups there and that we wanted to support them in the overthrow of that government. Not that I favor that, but that would have made a little more sense. But there's no, I mean, there were protests. That's true. You know, but the fact of the matter is those same protesters are in danger right now. They can't escape their country and they don't have the arms to overthrow this country. And so they're going to continue getting bombed into oblivion. And Trump just simply says that's the cost of war. There's going to be casualties, and shrug his shoulders and go to Mar-a-Lago and golf. This is insanity.
We'll just see what happens, but it's only going to get worse. And I wonder who's next on their list. But if you go,
you know, here was an article that was interesting. It came from DNYUZ. And the headline is "Peace President," quote unquote, breaks record for attacking the most countries. I mean, it's true. I mean, Trump is actually on pace to be the most war-mongering president of the entire United States and maybe even the world.
Well, if you think about it, it's got everybody's mind off Russia, Ukraine,
Epstein files.
Right.
But I'll tell you, Mr. Trump, and I don't even want to call you the president, okay? And I felt that way about Obama and Clinton and the rest of the gang, is that we will never relent or back away or back off from the Epstein files. You are going to face justice just like your rich cronies. And I do want to say this, that I don't think Trump was part of the plan that was directly controlled. I think it's NeoCon Rubio, it's Vance and his tech interests, and I think it's Lindsey Graham, this bloodthirsty thug, that would have, if John McCain were alive today, he'd be so proud of Trump that they would have made amends and they would have been the best of friends right now.
Well, he's singing the praises of Rubio. Trump is.
Rubio's running the entire operation. I mean, he's the national security advisor. He's the secretary of state. They say he's probably the president of Venezuela and Cuba upcoming. I mean, he's given little Marco the keys to the kingdom. And, and by the way, Mark Levin had his arms around Trump and give him an attaboy. He actually visited him at the White House to make sure that he was, in alignment with, Israel and the Zionist cause. These people that pretended to be America firsters, you can see now that they are neocons, they are internationalists, they're interventionists, and I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah, and I think Susie Wiles is really insulating him too as well. So.
Oh yeah. Now that's someone that I absolutely, positively, and she's pulling the strings, the Iron Maiden.
Definitely.
Well, more to come. Another report as well. Right back. Hold tight.
I have a friend, about 50, had a bad accident and couldn't go back to work. If you're between the ages of 49 and 63 and can't go back to your job because of a physical or mental disability, Social Security could pay you as much as $3,800 a month. If you or a family member is unable to work because of a disability, call the Social Security Disability Helpline. Our team will give you a free case review and explain to you how much money you're entitled to, and you won't pay anything unless we get you benefits. See if you or a family member is entitled to close to $45,000 a year in Social Security disability funds. Remember, this is not something for people over the age of 65. If you're under 65 and can't work, call now.
800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. 800-942-1395. That's 800-942-1395.
For nearly 250 years, Americans have enjoyed a level of civility and prosperity. Wicked globalist operatives threaten it all. And the chaos around us is the result of an underlying spiritual war. See through the deception and discover the root of the world's conflicts. A startling new book from the host of the Truth Seekers radio show, Soulless Society. Available on Amazon in softcover, Kindle ebook, and Audible. Visit www.soullesssocietybook.com.
Learn how thousands of smart homeowners are investing about $1 to avoid expensive home repair bills. John, a former non-customer, said, "My air conditioner broke and I had to spend $1,900 to fix it." Jeff, a customer, wrote, "My air conditioner broke and I got a new one at no out-of-pocket cost." Mary, a former non-customer, wrote, "My heating system stopped running. I had to spend $3,000 to get a new one." Lisa, a customer, wrote, "My heater stopped working. I got it fixed at no out-of-pocket cost." For about $1 a day, you can have all the major appliances and systems in your home guaranteed fixed or replaced. Call now. If the lines are busy, please call back.
Call the Home Warranty Hotline now at 800-238-9182. 800-238-9182. 800-238-9182. That's 800-238-9182.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now at 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. That's 800-810-2191.
Conspiracy Radio, the new streaming station offering shows only from this unique, compelling genre. They don't want you to know, but we do. Conspiracy Radio, formerly Patriot Radio Classics, is now streaming 24/7 with the greatest conspiracy radio programs from past and present. Political to the paranormal cover-ups, conspiracies exposed. From legendary past hosts to groundbreaking present-day popular shows. Listen 24/7 online at conspiracyradio.net or download the apps at TalkStreamLive.com. Visit conspiracyradio.net. That's conspiracyradio.net. Conspiracy Radio. Follow the evidence. Question everything.
Welcome back to Truth Matters with Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie. So today, Tom, I think I'm going to take a break from Erica Kirk and the Epstein files because I came across a couple reports this week by Business Insider, and I think this is a subject that needs a lot more attention because the mainstream media seems to be neglecting it. It's a topic that really hits home with all of us, and it will be eventually, as this grows, it'll hit all of us in every area of our life. What I came across was, in passing, I saw a headline about a New Jersey community where the local people protested against a data center in their community. And what had ended up happening is the people's voices got so loud that a New Brunswick City Council just decided to remove data centers from a list of permitted uses and plan to redevelop parcels of land in their area. So basically what happened is the people heard about the data centers as possibility. They spoke up. The people of the community stood up against it. And guess what? They won. Now, likely we know what could come in the future because government officials never give up. So what they end up doing is they circle back and repackage something until they usually get what they want. So this is where I think the American people need to be on watch for things like this, especially at the local level. There is something we can do at the local level. So don't forget that that's where your power lies. Now, I came across from that report to a Business Insider video report that they did that was it was great. And so I want to share with you some of their findings because, like I said, again, the mainstream media does not cover this subject enough. They say that more than 2 new warehouses open up across America in every single week, and they aren't ordinary warehouses, but they are these data centers. And what they're going to be used for is to store your data, your photos, your messages, your financial records, your medical history. And on top of that, they're training AI systems to then shape every aspect of your life going forward based on the data that they collect. So basically, they do data collection and manipulation. And as you're going to see from the rest of this report, we, the American people, will be paying for it on a local level. Business Insider, they did this great report where they published a comprehensive investigative report. And what they did, their journalists filed public records requests in every state. And then what they did is they dug through hundreds of shell company filings and they built out this map. This map had never existed before because no government has ever bothered to make a map of this, nor no single regulator at all ever tracked where these places are being built. So basically, there's no directory or public registry that allows people to see where these data centers are being put. So these journalists took it upon themselves to do it themselves. So what they found should concern you because obviously they're not going to be transparent or honest on any of this stuff. And we're going to look into the financial ramifications, also your public health and how that's going to be affected and is being affected across the country right now. This is bothering some people health-wise. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about the natural resources and the environmental issues as this goes unchecked. So the report tracked over 1,240 data centers that are either already built or have been approved to be built. And actually, when they did this report, it was in 2024. So these numbers could have escalated by this time. So let's see. So it said there were nearly 4 times the number that existed in 2010 when they did this research. And it says that AI is booming and accelerating. The build out is only getting faster. Now, the financial players, the biggest ones, of course, are Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, which is Facebook, and a company called QTS. And they seem to be in this race to get these things built. Now, I'm going to give you some original projections that they came out with that these companies claimed that they were going to need to build these centers in 2025, and then what they ended up having to boost those numbers to. So Meta projected they would need $64 billion, but that got boosted to about $72 billion. And they suspect that in 2026, that's going to be notably even higher. Google had projected originally $75 billion to build, and it was revised up to $91 to $93 billion. Microsoft projected $80 billion, and they stayed roughly on track with the $80 billion. So Amazon ended up projecting $125 billion for 2025. But when you add in all of these, Meta, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, together, they were on track to spend somewhere between $350 to $400 billion in 2025, and that's nearly double than what they originally anticipated. Now, here's a note about the financing. The AI infrastructure has accelerated faster than these companies could ever anticipate. Companies like Meta are now borrowing money through the bond markets to fund the build out because the spending is consuming such a large portion of their operating cash flow. As far as locations, where are they concentrating all these places? You would think they would put them in remote places, and it's possible that some of them are in remote places, but what they found is largely they're in areas where lots of people already live. So there's already these housing areas, and then they're coming in and putting these data centers in these areas where people have already been planted. Loudoun County, Virginia is known as Data Center Alley. It's the self-described data center capital of the world. And as much as 1/3 of all global internet traffic flows through the state of Virginia. There's 329 data centers in that one state, and they consume nearly 1/4 of Virginia's electricity supply, and that was in 2023. So all these data centers had consumed nearly 1/4 of Virginia's electricity supply in 2023. So I can only imagine that's gone up. Other areas include Maricopa County in Arizona, Santa Clara County in California, suburbs such as Columbus, Ohio. And they aren't, like I said, just in industrial zones. They're in neighborhoods where families live and go to school. Now, some of the health issues that are being reported, there was a woman in Prince William County, Virginia. She lived there for 30 years. And in 2021, Google began rising out of the ground next to her home. And she told the Business Insider, this is a quote from her, "When I go to my room at night, the tonal noise immediately triggered my anxiety to the point where I couldn't sleep. I ended up having to go down on the first floor and put noise-canceling headphones on just so I could sleep." So the neighborhood was originally zoned just for housing, but in 2023, the county rezoned it to allow data centers. And this woman had a lawsuit challenging these data centers, and it was dismissed. She told Business Insider, "It breaks my heart, but I can only fight for so long." And I think she has intentions of packing her bags eventually and leaving. There's also a gentleman, Carlos Janis, in Manassas, Virginia, and he lives about 200 meters from 3 Amazon data centers. He spent $23,000 replacing windows and adding insulation to get away from these effects from the noise. And it says in this report that it did not solve the problem. The vibrations travel through his walls. Carlos told reporters he's not against technology or growth, but he says, quote, "I just believe we're crossing a fine line and they need to be out and away from homes and schools and hospitals." And I agree with that. I don't know why they would even remotely need to be in areas where people already live. Here's an irony I found, though. The American Public Health Association is even confirming what the discomfort that these families are experiencing in their health. They said chronic noise exposure is linked to cardiovascular disease and elevated stress levels. This is a public health issue. So there you even have the American Public Health Association confirming these people's findings. So I go into more ramifications in the second half of this report on AI data centers. So I will talk more and give more detail about how it affects the American people in my next report. But Tom, and for the next segment, maybe we can discuss what I reported on today. We'll be back momentarily on Truth Matters.
For nearly 250 years, Americans have enjoyed a level of civility and prosperity. Wicked globalist operatives threaten it all. And the chaos around us is the result of an underlying spiritual war. through the deception and discover the roots of the world's conflicts. A startling new book from the host of the Truth Seekers radio show, Soulless Society. Available on Amazon in softcover, Kindle ebook, and Audible. Visit www.soullesssocietybook.com.
Learn how thousands of smart homeowners are investing about $1 to avoid expensive home repair bills. John, a former non-customer, said, "My air conditioner broke and I had to spend $1,900 to fix it." Jeff, a customer, wrote, "My air conditioner broke and I got a new one at no out-of-pocket cost." Mary, a former non-customer, wrote, "My heating system stopped running. I had to spend $3,000 to get a new one." Lisa, a customer, wrote, "My heater stopped working. I got it fixed at no out-of-pocket cost." For about $1 a day, you can have all the major appliances and systems in your home guaranteed fixed or replaced. Call now. If the lines are busy, please call back.
Call the Home Warranty Hotline now at 800-238-9182, 800-238-9182, 800-238-9182. That's 800-238-9182.
Welcome back. Tom Donahue with Angeline Marie. The show is Truth Matters, and there's a website that links all this information that you're going to want about us, the show, and various other things that are really going to be important to you in Truth Matters, and that's truthmattersradio.net, truthmattersradio.net. Wow, what a report on these data centers. So I don't know whether I should say to you, are we on or off the grid? But this is some compelling information, Angeline. And what spurred you? Where did the inspiration come to do this research and file this report today?
Well, I've heard about these data centers a lot, I would say, in the last couple of years. And initially, you would hear a lot about them. They were claiming that they needed them to data mine for the cryptocurrency, which honestly, I think that could be bogus, because I just feel like cryptocurrency is zeros and ones, and I've never been able to wrap my head around why we need to use all this power, because it does take a lot of power to run these places, and they are huge. Some of them are acres. They're just huge facilities, and they're going to eat up. I always wonder where the environmentalists are, because they're going to eat up a lot of the water, and they're eating up farmland and putting these huge concrete buildings in there. But what recently I came across a New Jersey community that I was happy to see actually won their fight. They went to their city council, who had this on the docket, and they had plans that they were going to zone and say, you can build these big data centers. And the people said, absolutely not. And thankfully, they won, and it was struck down, and I just pray that these people will stay on top of it. And I think, and surprisingly, New Brunswick, New Jersey, the home of Rutgers University and huge public research centers, I'm sure there was a tie to that. Except for that university tie, and also Johnson & Johnson's there as well. So there could be some of those connections. But why are they building these data centers metropolitan or, less than rural areas like they are for cryptocurrency? So why do you think that is? Well, it isn't just for crypto. Now it has gone into basically the surveillance society. So they're saying that they're using them to collect all our data. So whether it's what we watch on TV, through the internet, because, now we have a lot of our cable through the internet, and that's all being collected, whether it's data from your phone calls or phone messages. I think the angle is that they're collecting all of this data, and to them, the more the better. But although they're saying they're collecting it for other reasons, I think it really has to do with data collection, which is going to be data manipulation, which is going to be surveillance. And I think that's So what are the major companies that are doing this? Is like Amazon one of them? Well, definitely Amazon is behind it. Meta is huge in it.
Meta, yeah.
Google, and of course,
Google.
Microsoft. And Amazon seems to be a leader, but I think what I have found out the last couple of weeks is that Palantir, which is Peter Thiel's company, that they were really the people behind the curtain that kind of gets these data companies and these big tech companies online through a story. And so like Facebook was really a Department of Defense project before it was Facebook. And then when people caught wind of it, they had to come up and say, okay, well, we're just going to say we're going to squash it so people don't have to worry about losing their privacy. And instead we'll just reinvent it, and it'll be this college campus platform, social platform. And so what you'll find if you dig into this is these companies really are very much linked, especially the social media.
So you got the social media, you got Silicon Valley that probably have used up all their space.
Yes,
and so they're expanding nationwide, worldwide. And also because of environmental laws in California, that maybe they're having to take a lot of this out of California as well, and try to find places where if they pay enough money. And remember when we've had these down economies because of the COVID conspiracy and cover up, and because of Biden inflation, and now even the Trump not realizing that there's an affordability crisis, that there's these empty warehouses everywhere. And so
yes.
So they're probably buying up or renting or leasing all these warehouses that no longer can be in business or stock things, or so I think that's probably why they're going into these towns and cities because of the empty warehouses.
And think about it. I mean, if you're going to collect, and this isn't just here, this is worldwide. So to me, geographically, if you have to collect from everybody always around the world, you're going to have to be spread out. I mean, you're going to have to be everywhere. And also, one of the things you just brought up was the warehouses. I think one of the things they're using to get a foothold in all these little communities, especially, is they're saying, oh, we're going to bring jobs to the area. And so we'll be able to, stimulate your local economy. But really, we're going to find out, and I'm going to talk more about this, what they're really going to end up doing. And actually, they don't really bring that many jobs. So everything they're saying is usually a lie just to get their foot in.
With big tech and Silicon Valley. So they got a foothold there easily with the vice president that could become president even in this term if Trump is either run out of office, or he experiences a health crisis, or he's lucky enough or fortunate enough to be elected president.
Right. And I think this is all part of that Stargate project that Trump had that meeting on day 3 when he got in office, and he had all these big tech people there. I think Stargate is almost like the head of putting all of this surveillance infrastructure together. And this is also, I don't know, Tom, if you know about the 15-minute city model, but it's where they're going to break us all down to these 15-minute cities where you would be able to get everything you need for life, whether it's going to the grocery or a doctor or library or school, within a 15-minute radius of your area, and that you're going to be staying there. And that's a way that they'll be able to surveil. And to surveil, they need the infrastructure. In my area, they've been pushing us to go. We have Comcast cable, which is, regular coaxial cable. But now there's a new provider of cable in our area that's through fiber underground, and they're starting to put a whole new infrastructure, and they're trying to push everybody that was on coax to go to this new infrastructure. And I suspect, I haven't been able to look into this enough yet, but I suspect that this is all part of this new surveillance data infrastructure that they're trying to do.
Well, you talked about the high-tech people, the tech barons, tech titans, if you will, that were meeting with Trump and continue to meet with Trump. They funded his inauguration. They funded it towards when they saw where the contest was going in the 2024 presidential election. they start pumping the money into Trump. And then, of course, some of the cabinet people were, pushed upon Trump and Vance. So they do have their tentacles and they have their claws into this administration, and it's becoming a tech bro presidency.
Yeah. And, another thing that I mentioned in the report is health ramifications. And some people, it doesn't bother, but other people are very sensitive to these waves and all this tech energy that we can't see. And it's affecting health. Right. And I talked about that woman in Prince William County that she's been living in her home for like 30 years, but they put these data centers near her home and she can't barely sleep. And then another guy spent $23,000 trying to make it so that his family would be protected, and it's not working. He's, replacing windows and insulation and the whole nine, but I'm going to go more into the water and the power and all that in the next report. And
how about the 5G for mobile data streaming services?
Yeah, and now I heard they're getting ready to roll out 6, and their plan is to go to a 10G. And when it gets to that point, I don't even know. I mean, I can't believe that you're not going to have small animals dying all over the place and people getting really sick from the radiation part of it.
We know how the mind can get cloudy with fluoride, and that's a whole other conspiracy. But now these high frequencies can certainly affect, our cognition and being able to fight the good fight. And speaking of that, we're going to wrap it up for this week. Tom Donahue, Angeline Marie, Truth Matters. Have a great week.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now at 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. 800-810-2191. That's 800-810-2191.
For every puppy purchased from a pet store or a breeder, a homeless dog at an animal shelter loses the chance of ever going for a romp in the park, chasing a ball, or feeling secure in a real home. Dogs and cats in shelters are waiting for someone kind to come along. So if you or anyone you know is ready for the responsibility of giving an animal a lifelong home full of patience, understanding, and respect, please adopt, don't shop. Visit PETA.org to learn more.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You're listening to Truth Matters with Tom Donahue and Angeline Marie as we shed light and insight on the prevailing controversies, cover-ups, and conspiracies. We cover the political, cultural, monetary, media, and health sectors